running backs and what makes a safe running back. I know that is a scary, scary term in the Dynasty streets, but Evan, what makes a safe running back to you?
Man, okay. This comes down to a couple things. It comes down to one, offensive line play for me. It's crazy how much Dynasty gamers don't look at offensive line play. I think that is one of the biggest things that was everybody was telling you Saquon is going to be in a timeshare in this backfield because that's historically what the Eagles have done. But what do the Eagles have that no other team has in the league? Hands down, the best run blocking unit around. Best run blocking unit in a decade,
The
maybe.
Lions might like a word, but yeah,
Oh,
I get what you're saying.
All right. So you put all of that together, and then you look at the fact that Eagles are running at over a 50% clip. That's huge. So I'm looking at a team that is pushing the run heavily. You look at Green Bay. Historically, LaFleur has done that as well. These are offenses that are rather predictable, offenses that are going to be going to whoever their lead back is. You look at LA. LA is a perfect example with McVay there. He loves to just pound whatever back is in his backfield. He is going to run them. It's the reason that Kyron Williams has had the production numbers that he is happening. So this to me is less about specific players and more about offensive tendencies. You can say that running backs are special. Some of them are, but there's very few that are truly so special that even in low volumes, they can still be incredibly high producers for fantasy.
That makes sense. Jake, what makes a safe running back to you?
I'm going to actually go a little bit of a flip side here and say that the only safe running back assets are handcuffs. Having a guy that, especially handcuffs that have some semblance of role themselves already, like if it's in a split backfield, like a prime example is most people probably going into last season would have considered a guy like Bucky Irving a handcuff. Going into this year, we're probably considering Rachaad White the handcuff. Rachaad's a guy who's still going to maintain a role. He's still a far superior pass blocker to Bucky Irving. He's still the better pass catcher. He's just not as good of a runner, but he's going to have a role. If Bucky goes down, if anything happens to Bucky, we get Rachaad White immediately into a high value, high octane role like we've seen him in before, in probably a better offensive system. His running metrics were a lot better last year. Going back to Evan's point, the offensive line just ran block a lot better. It was just a far superior performance from that year, from the year prior to last year. But a guy like that who has some standalone value, but also has that handcuff upside is the safest investment you can make in running back, because you're not paying much to get in the door there, but you're also not losing much if it doesn't work out. But the gain potential of it is arguably the highest of any position in football.
Yeah, I think the security versus the price, that makes a ton of sense. I'm going to go all the way on the other end of the spectrum from Evan. I think the individual talent of running backs is what makes them safe, because we can talk about contract security. We can talk about the system. All of those things, poof, disappear all of the time. What really matters is this player good? And then is that player good in a way that they can catch passes that will give you that weekly security? When we talk about year after year, there's going to be running backs that continue to get jobs because they're just talented players. And this isn't, I'm not looking for the home run hitter. I'm not always talking about a Jonathan Taylor. Sometimes it's a guy that can just reduce negative plays. So we're talking about the David Montgomerys, the Najee Harrises, the Josh Jacobs. We like to make fun of them as fantasy football managers, but they turn a 1 yard loss into a 4 yard gain that keeps them on the field, that keeps them getting volume, that keeps them in starting roles in different systems. And when you add all of those things together, that is a safe asset to me. And I think there's going to be a couple of those guys coming out in the 2025 draft. With that, Evan, who is a quote unquote safe running back to you?
Yeah, it's not very sexy, but it's the Green Bay running back. Their offensive line is underrated, especially for that division. They get completely overshadowed by the Detroit Lions. Josh Jacobs is a volume king. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's probably not the smoothest receiver out of the backfield, but LaFleur loves to run the football. And for that, I want to say just the Packers running back in general, whoever is the lead back in that backfield, season in, season out. Historically, I wanted Aaron Jones when he was on the Packers. You look at that. I want Josh Jacobs now. that he's on the Packers. You pair all of that together. LaFleur loves to play slow. He loves to run the football. He loves to pound it in the red zone. These are all things that are great. People are saying there's going to be touchdown regression. Will there be? I don't know. Josh Jacobs can score touchdowns. He has a nose for the end zone. LaFleur loves to just take care of his running backs because he loves to utilize them. And he utilizes them as much as he can, and then he moves on after the contract.
Yeah, I think Jacobs is in for the same volume. Do you worry at all about the age cliff with some of these guys?
But Jacobs isn't that old, all right? He's been in the league. He's been talked about for so many years already. Age cliff, sure, you do start wondering about it, but until I see a 3 at the start of a running back's age, I'm not worrying about that.
Okay. Jake, who is your safe running back you'd like to bring to the group?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the guy that you brought up, David Montgomery. Again, just a guy, standalone role, especially in that offense. Will that change given that Ben Johnson's gone? I don't imagine it's going to change too much. I'm pretty sure they stayed in-house for their offensive coordinator. So I think we're going to see a lot of carryover there. But again, a guy with standalone value, going to get his volume, using the passing game, scores those touchdowns, but also just gets into an absolutely elite role if something were to happen to Jahmyr Gibbs. He's kind of the ultimate safe running back for me. And I think people forget that David Montgomery actually had his best seasons in terms of fantasy points per game finishes in Chicago. So we're not even seeing like truly the ceiling of what David Montgomery has been capable of in his career. Talking about a guy who's got a top 6 finish on his career, one top 12. The last 2 years have been top 16. Outside of true down years, and one down year in 2022 in his rookie year, this guy's been a consistent producer who showed no signs of slowing down and really no signs of going anywhere.
Yep. He's going to be, this is like a perfect blend. Like he's kind of a handcuff, but he also has a standalone role. I love that.
And I just want to make a comment real quick on the age cliff thing that you brought up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you should never be thinking more than 2 years out at the absolute max when it comes to running back. If you want to think about other positions in farther windows, yes. I truthfully look at running back as a year-by-year position, especially because often the guys that are those older guys like a Josh Jacobs, like an Aaron Jones, like Derrick Henry's probably a bit of an outlier there, but you don't have to make the same investment to get these guys, but they're going to give you the production. Running back is you have the job until you don't kind of position. And these guys are all going to have jobs until they truly cannot play competent football anymore.
I know. The age cliff thing is so funny because in a 2-year window, it's super predictable, a lot of fun. I'm going to go 3 years back. So this is 2022. Austin Eckler, running back 1. Nick Chubb, running back 6. Ramondre Stevenson, running back 7. Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams, all Miles. You don't know 3 years out with running backs. So just take the guy with the role now, make sure that they have a good enough production profile that they can continue that if they lose their contract. But dude, they get old weird. So I'm going to bring up a rookie as a safe option. I know that that's not ideal, but TreVeyon Henderson, the way that his skill set works, Jake, I know you're going to love this. Electric pass blocker. No, yes, I combined electric and pass blocker. Look, pound for pound, he's the best pass blocker in this class. A coach is going to love that. It's going to earn him a role on the field. What is the second best thing that he's good at? Taking the ball, getting in space, getting up the field. When you combine those two things, this is a guy that's going to get a lot of miles out of the NFL. Coaches are going to love him. He's going to get the high value touches that we want, especially in those PPR leagues. And I think that TreVeyon Henderson is going to stick around the NFL for a while.
I have an ungodly amount of money on TreVeyon Henderson to be a first round pick at plus money. And I feel so good about it because of exactly what you said. Like, we watch Brian Robinson. He's boring, but he kind of does everything well. Yep. If the NFL has showed us one thing at running back, if you're not the elitist of elite rushers or athletes, if you can do everything well, you will maintain a job forever.
Yep.
Like Melvin Gordon was good until his knees truly just completely gave out. Like, you look at guys like him, like, wasn't a superstar in college. People are going to argue that, but he truthfully wasn't. Like, nothing on his tape stands out at an elite level. I'll argue that Henderson has things that do stand out at an elite level, but guys like that just come into the league, they keep a job, they hold it, and then they go retire with millions of dollars in the bank. And sipping
Bad knees.
margaritas on the beach and
Yeah.
bad knees. But hey, they got money. Surgery fixes things. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've had plenty.
I have this intrusive thought that Najee Harris is actually another safe running back. I know it's a 1-year contract, but would you like to compare the Los Angeles Chargers offensive line and scheme to the Pittsburgh Steelers of the last 3 years? It's a little different.
I'll take the Chargers on that one for infinite dollars.
And he's kind of running back that coaches love. He's going to turn that 1-yard loss into a 3-yard gain. He's going to pass pro well. He's going to be reliable in the passing game, running his routes. Yeah, I don't know what team he's going to play for in 2026, but I bet he's going to have a starting job, and we're all going to hate him for it.
I would bet a lot of money right now that if he has a solid season, not even a good season, but a solid season, he's just going to stick in Los Angeles, because if he has a solid season, John Harbaugh is going to be needing to change his khakis out of excitement, knowing that he doesn't have to pay him a ton of money and he gets to bring him back again.
Yep. He thought J.K. Dobbins was, off of an Achilles tear, off of an ACL tear, off of an ankle roll, off of a stub toe.
Off his second Achilles tear.
Yeah, he thought that was explosive. So Najee Harris is going to be like NASA to him. It's the only time Najee will ever be considered fast. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. If you made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check out written content, head over to lastwordonsports.com.
Don't the goblins get you.